Hey guys, Wes here from Compa. So we just dropped 8 new drop downs in Compa, and I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew how to actually use them and use them to their advantage and know how to customize it effectively, and just a few tips and tricks around how to actually get the most out of a drop down in Framer. So to get started, we're first going to need a nav bar. So we can look through some of the ones in the navigations category. I think I'm actually going to go and stick with navigation 2. And then just to keep it responsive, I'll set the width to fill. Okay, cool. So since we want to edit this and add a new drop down to this, I'm going to go ahead and double click and unlink the instance. That means we're unlinking this component from our project where we built it, and it's linking it to your project. Okay, so with that out of the way, okay, cool. So with that out of the way, we're also going to look at this drop down here. So this we don't technically need. It's just very, very handy to have it here. So really the only one we need is this one here in the actual overlay. This one here isn't actually connected to anything. I could delete this and nothing would change. The reason we have this here is because it's very, very useful to have. Because when we start to have a site that has multiple drop downs and they're all different, to edit these, we have to go in and go into the nav bar, go in here, click the overlay, and then go in here and then make our edits that way. Or, since it's a component, and all we have to do to edit it is edit the component itself, and then all the instances of the component will also be updated with the updates that I made to that original one, we can just put it here. And then if we have multiple different ones, imagining that these are all different ones, we can just keep them all here and then just go straight in. So I'm going to delete these. I'm actually going to delete this one too. May as well delete these while I'm at it. We only really need one. And then I'm going to go and click the overlay. There are 2 ways to do this. You can either click it and then go to the properties panel on the right hand side and click it this way. Or another way to do it would be to go into the layers panel and then you can just click it this way. But like I said, we don't actually want this one, so we're going to go ahead and press delete on that, making sure to keep this overlay here. And then we're going to go into our bits, and I've already got the drop downs open, but they'll be right here. And I'm going to choose a new one. There are some pretty good ones, but I think I'm going to stick with, let's go drop down 5. I'll drop this in, and automatically it is going to fit to the size of it. And that's what we want. And now we have a brand new drop down. Let me drag this out so you can see. Drop down 5, before it was drop down 1. So now we have a brand new drop down in our nav. We can go ahead and exit it, and I'll even go here and view the whole page, and we can see it's worked. And we could call it quits there, except there's a big error here. And I'll give you a minute to figure it out. You can't actually see it at the moment, but you can see it when you go to your tablet or phone breakpoint, and that's that this is still the old one. You can see there's only 3 nav items here, whereas there's 6 here. So something's not right. So let's go ahead and fix this. So we're going to go back into the nav, and let me close this up, open the container, and you can see there's 2 child layers of this container here. Let me close this up because we don't need this anymore. But we've got our content, and that's what we can see here. But then there's the links, and then these are what's basically visible to the phone and tablet breakpoint, but not on the desktop. So if we open this up by setting it to visible, you can see that we've got this here, and this is drop down 1. Still drop down 1. So we're going to go open back up the overlay, grab this drop down 5. I've copied it, but before I move it anywhere, I'm first going to unlink the instance, and then I'm going to go back out and make sure I'm in the right spot. Yes, I am. So I'm going to go and select this layer right here called links, select drop down, delete it, paste it back in, or paste our drop down 5, and then I'm going to set the width to fill, and then this variant I'm actually going to switch to phone closed. And then what that does is, actually I'll close this up again by setting it to not visible, and that will set everything back to how it was before. And let's take a look at what that does for us. So we've got a drop down here, and then when we move it to the phone breakpoint, we've now got basically what's an accordion, and it's a collapsible thing that opens and closes and shows us all of our links. So that's great, but what if we want to customize the drop down? And I'm assuming you will want to do that, because right now we've just got a bunch of buttons here that just say page name, a bunch of nav items. We obviously don't want that. So we're going to go in, and this, because this was in a component and we've got another component inside of a component, that means that it's still going to be linked to our project that we built and not your project that you're building. So we're going to go ahead, and instead of just unlinking this instance, we actually want to unlink and replace all, because we've got several instances of the same component, and we want them all to be the same component. We want them all to share the same parent, basically. So what we're going to do, like I said, we're going to unlink and replace all. And then now we have one component called nav item 1. And we can make our changes either here, if we know exactly what colors we want them to be and we want them all to share the exact same colors. That is how most of you will want it. So I would, if you wanted to do that, just hit the X here, hit the X here, and then on all of them, probably I'd keep icon like this so that you can access it on the outside. And I would change everything from this point. So color is the icon color here. So I'll change this to red, something like that. And then actually, let's go ahead. I'll keep this color. But what I'll do is I'll change the icon background to this red. And then the color of the icon itself, I'll keep looking like this. I'll keep it white. And then here, what we'll do is we'll unlink these again. And then we can even change it. Let's even, let's keep it blue. And then we'll go ahead and look at what that looks like. So you can see here, it switches on hover to this blue, from this red to this blue. And then let me go out of it, and then we can see that they all now share this same, or these same properties, and that's great. So there's that way, but then okay, so now you can see why, because I'm fumbling around these layers, you can see why it's helpful to just put your nav or your drop down just outside of it here. So we'll go in, and we looked at one way of dealing with this by having all your properties just set in the component, but another way is to just keep the variables. So let me just double check. So I'm on icon here. I'll set the variable to icon color, and then the background, we'll set that to icon background. Here we unlinked these, so we want to link them back up. This would be hover icon color. This would be hover icon background. So these are already fully set up, and those will be ready for you. All you have to do is either keep them, or if you got rid of them, link them back up just the same. And the benefit here of having these variables on the outside is if we want to make these different colors, we can do that. So if I wanted to make the color of this one red and the color of this one something like a green, couldn't really see it because it was a bit too bright. And then this one, we wanted to make this pink. We can do that. Chances are you probably won't want these exact colors, but you can see the benefit of having variables on the outside, on the actual nav items themselves. I'm going to go ahead and actually undo these. And one thing you'll notice here, just while we're here, we can see that on the phone open variant, you can see that these ones look different to this one here. And that's because when we unlinked the instance, it's a bit of a thing with Framer, it's a bit frustrating, but it's fine, it's an easy fix, is whatever one you click first to unlink all the instances, it will keep all the variants the same as how you left it, but all the other ones you have to set back because it'll revert back to whatever the original settings were. So we're just going to switch these, we're going to select them all and then switch it back to mobile. And you can even, just to be safe, this isn't too big of a deal because it is closed, but you can also go ahead and change these ones that are in the phone closed variant to mobile as well, just to be safe. But really, the biggest thing that you're going to want to be doing is changing the name. So you can see, let's imagine that this was just pages, right? And we had our home page, and we had our about page, and here we had a contact, and here we had some case studies, and here we had a blog, and then here we had, what's another page? Page name it is. So we've got these now, and then you can see how helpful it is to have all of these. We're just going to go ahead and do the last thing, which is just set the link. So we're going to set this to home, and then we would set this to /about, but that doesn't exist, so we're just going to also set this to home. And then we're going to go ahead, take a look here, and check if everything's totally as it should be. So far, so good. And we're going to check here again. And it's exactly as we want it to be. So that is absolutely perfect. Sweet. So that's it. Hopefully you found that really helpful and you know how to use Compa's new drop-downs. You know a little bit more about some tips and tricks about keeping your drop-downs on the outside, just because it's super easy this way, and how to keep them fully responsive as well. So that's it. See you guys later.